Have you ever noticed how people who grew up in the 1980s seem to carry this unique blend of optimism and caution that feels almost impossible to replicate today? They witnessed the birth of the digital age, but remember life without it. They lived through economic uncertainty, but also explosive cultural growth. And somehow, this combination created a psychology that's both fascinating and complex. Stick with me, because what you'll discover about the 80s mindset might explain why this generation approaches life so differently from everyone else. The 1980s were a decade of contradictions, and that shaped everything. On one hand, you had the rise of MTV, video games, and this explosion of pop culture that promised endless possibilities. Kids growing up then believed they could be anything: astronaut, rock star, movie director. The world felt wide open. But on the other hand, there was the Cold War, economic recessions, and parents who worked multiple jobs just to keep up. This created what psychologists call adaptive resilience. People from the 80s learned to dream big, but planned for disappointment. They're the first generation to grow up with technology, but also the last to remember life without it. Think about that for a second. They played outside until dark, but they also had Nintendo. They wrote letters by hand, but they also saw the first personal computers. This dual experience created something rare, a brain that can adapt to rapid change while still valuing human connection and simplicity. Here's what makes their psychology really unique. They learned to be self-reliant early. Their parents were busy building careers in a changing economy, so 80s kids figured things out on their own. They walked to school alone. They solved problems without asking for help. They entertained themselves for hours without supervision. This wasn't neglect. It was accidental training in independence that most kids today never get. But there's a shadow side too. This generation carries a quiet anxiety about stability because they watched their parents struggle through economic uncertainty. They save money differently. They approach relationships more carefully. They don't take success for granted because they saw how quickly things could change. The 80s generation lives in this interesting space between analog and digital, between optimism and realism, between independence and connection. They're old enough to remember when life was slower, but young enough to adapt to how fast it's become. That's not just nostalgia. That's a psychology shaped by living through one of the most transformative decades in modern history. And maybe that's why talking to someone from that era feels different. They carry both the dreams and the lessons of a world that was changing everything, all at once.